Okay, and that was the part from our prayers that we incorporate every week when we get together. There's so much more, but that's where we go until. And the next thing that we spoke about, our next topic, was the different holidays for the different months. Do you remember all the name? What month are we in? Oh, today's such a special day. Today is Rosh Chodesh. Rosh Chodesh is Rosh, head, Chodesh of the month. It's the head of the month. Today is Rosh Chodesh Adar. And in fact, it says in Adar, Misha Nichnas Adar, Marbim Besimcha. What does that mean? Misha Nichnas Adar, when we enter into Adar, Marbim, we increase the Simcha, with joy. And it says the best time to have a court case is in the month of Adar. You should schedule it in the month of Adar. There's like the mazel is very strong in Adar. It's a good time to get married. It's a good time to be born. So let's go ahead on page number, I think it's 99, or I could be making that up. No, I'm right. Page number 99. Let's go ahead and go through the months. Ready? We're on the bottom of page number 99. Unless you remember it by heart, do it with me. Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar, Nisan, Iyar, Sivan, Tammuz, Av, and Elul. These are the 12 months of the year. So we are in the month of Adar. So Adar is Tishrei, Cheshvan, Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar. Adar is the 6th month, the 6th of the Jewish months. So we are starting the month of Adar, and we went through all the different holidays. Say again? Purim is an amazing holiday, which is, excuse me, which is in 2 weeks from today. So, I hope you're all going to come and celebrate. Rabbi is actually printing out something really nice for each and every one of you. He'll have it by the end of class today. A beautiful printout on learning about Purim. So important. When you learn about a holiday, you celebrate the holiday differently. We're going to be having a big celebration, and I'll review some of the laws pertaining to Purim next week, which will be the week before Purim. So we are moving on to, we skipped around, and then we began on page number 50, where we spoke about the 12 verses. Anyone know how to say verses in Hebrew? Do you remember? Not parsha. Parsha is very good. Pasuk, or in plural, pisukim. Very good. So the 12 pisukim. And we spoke about how each and every one of these pisukim, you know the basis of these pisukim, you will know a lot about Judaism just from these 12 fundamental verses. So I've got my song. Do you still have your song sheets from last week? Who has their song sheets from last week? Anybody pick it up? Oh, yeah. Anyone missing? Let me get it on. Everybody have it? Raise your hand if you don't have it. Here, I have a bunch of extra copies right here. Yeah. Want to ask Freddie if they're ready? I thought she had the stack. And here we go. Hello, welcome. Come sit. Does she have it? Hold on, getting it on. Raise your hand if you don't have it. Anyone not have it? Okay, this whole side. Okay, let me just grab it. I have the stack. I apologize. Freddie, you have it?
She's waiting for Rabbi to get done with his Purim book.
Oh, so it's too late. Okay, so skip. No, I need it now. If not, then. Oh, yeah.
I think the red stickers.
No.
More books either.
Where's your book? Oh, sorry. Seems like we're having trouble with our copier. So, okay. Can I ask people to share so I could just share for now and I'll give out new copies? Do you mind to share together? Here, so I'm going to steal yours. Here, you guys can share. No, but you can. If people share, so I'll give new copies out. Do you have extra copies? You're sharing already. You're sharing already. Any extra copies?
I need it.
You need one? I know we're gonna have. Is this an extra one? Oh, here's one. Here. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, there you go. Thank you. All right. Thanks, Ruth. It's in the book. You can just keep going. The English words are not in the book. The to the song itself. All right. Here we go. We're starting with Torah. Oops. Torah, tziva, tziva lanu Moshe from Hashem to everyone. Let me see. Torah, tziva lanu. Do you guys mind to share so they can have one? I'll give you more in a second. Hashem Elokeinu, Hashem Echad. Hashem is one. We're on the third one. Darvadar Chayav Adam Lerait Esatmai Ki'ilu Yatzam Mitzrayim. In every generation, a person must believe that Hashem will take us out of exile speedily. Number 5. 4. Chelek li'elam haba shenemar v'yamich kulam tzadikim li'elam Yeshua retz neitzer matai maseh v'hispaer. Has a place in the world to come. Every Jew has a place, yes, everyone. Ki karai v'lecha hadava me'od beficha u'v'va. Say, it's close to you.
It's close to me through thought, speech, and deed. We can do what is right and we will succeed.
Hine Hashem nitzav alav. Just back to back. Ready. Oh, it's double.
Hashem is everywhere.
Hashem knows what's inside.
Hashem knows what's inside and what we decide.
Bereshis bara Elokim Eis Hashamayim V'Eis Haaretz. In the beginning, Hashem created the heavens and the earth. If you know these by heart, you know a lot. Vishinanta levanecha v'dibarta v'tabam v'shiftecha v'veisecha u'velachtecha v'derech u'v'shachvecha u'v'umecha. We shall teach our children and the next
generation.
Let's pass on to them the Torah Hashem. Yagaiti v'lai matzasi, Yagaiti v'lai matzasi al tamin, la Yagaiti umatzasi. La yagaiti umatzasi al tamin, yagaiti umatzasi ta'amin. If you work hard, you will succeed. If you try your best, you will have success. Work hard and succeed. Try and try, you will achieve. Do your very best. You will have success. Hafdalereyacha kamaycha. Kamaycha, Rabbi Akiva Aimer Zeklal Gadol B'Torah. Like it's you love every single Jew, says Rabbi Akiva. It's the basis of the Torah. 2 more. Adam v'sach letzriya isavu briya kala ilamais el yainim v'sach tainim liyais laidirazu v'sach tainim.
This whole world
was created for Hashem to have a home.
That's why he made it.
Torah and mitzvahs is what we have to do. That is why Hashem created me and you. Yismach Yisroel b'Yisrael, Perush Shekal Mishehu, Kal Misezera Yisroel, Yesh Lai Lismayach B'Simchas Hashem, Asher Sas V'Sameach, V'Diratzai V'Sachtainim. Let us serve Hashem, happiness and joy, each and every Jewish girl and boy. These Pesukim are our guide, how to serve Hashem with pride. Good job. I know it's a little long, but what do you think? Now I want to know who liked that. It's pretty cool, no? By the way, I'll send you a link to it on. I keep saying that we have to create a WhatsApp group. I don't know why I keep forgetting. But how cool is that to know the 12 Pesukim? When you know these 12 verses and you understand what they mean, you actually know a lot. So I know it's a little long, but like, hey, it says for every Jewish girl and boy, right? So let's go move forward. We are on page. So we finished the last one on 61, and now we go to section 4. And my hope is that between this week and next week, we complete the 4th grade. So we will have completed 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And then the next semester, is that enough? You'll be more, thank you. The next semester, which will begin after Passover, we're going to keep trucking away. So today we're talking about mitzvos. Where is my sheet? So most Jews that come to a Hebrew school class probably heard of the word mitzvah before, right? So just by raise of hand, or just call it out, what's a mitzvah? Good deed. Anything? A celebration. It's a new one. A commandment. Commandment, obligation, connection, a joy. When you were a child, did you hear of the word mitzvah? Raise your hand if you heard of the word mitzvah, like you heard your mother or your father say that word. In what context did they say that word?
You better study because it's going to be a fun mitzvah.
So you heard it in that context, okay, in a bar mitzvah. Interesting. Ruth, how did you hear it? Go help this guy. It's a mitzvah. You heard it in that context. Did you? Yes. Yeah, but you heard it also in the context, like a good deed, like go help the neighbor. It's a mitzvah. Did you hear it in any other context? Like we're going to do, like it's a mitzvah to keep Shabbos. Did you hear it in that context? Okay. Tzedakah is a mitzvah. So the word mitzvah, actually, you go on Google, right? Translate the word mitzvah in the dictionary. The word mitzvah, Mark, right? Like Mark correctly said, is a commandment. Okay. The word mitzvah means to command. In fact, it comes from, if you like, tziva, tzadik vav hey. Tziva means to command. The word mitzvah in different contexts, not like the word mitzvah itself, but the word mitzvah in the context of, like it says, b'mitzvaysa v'tzivanu, like right, we use that, is used roughly around 300 times in the Torah. The actual root word of mitzvah. Yes.
I always said we were 613.
Yes, so I'm going to explain. So the word mitzvah, the word itself, is used roughly 300 times in the Torah. The amount of commandments that Hashem gave us, because the word means to command, the amount of commandments that Hashem gave us are 613. The Rambam, Maimonides, gave one of the biggest gifts to the Jewish people by organizing the mitzvahs and enumerating them by number and just by like saying what the mitzvah is. Like if you open up a Torah scroll, it may be hard to pick out all the mitzvahs because it's written in a story form, etc. But the Rambam, Maimonides, you ever heard of the 14, it's called the took 14 books and he um, the it's called Rambam, and he actually codified each of the mitzvos. In fact, the Rebbe very much encouraged people to learn Rambam every single day. And there is a custom to learn 3 chapters a day of Rambam. So within a couple of years, you actually finish the whole Rambam and you start again. I think I mentioned this story to you before, people that have come to the book club, that my grandfather, when he was going through a difficult time in, he was having challenging, if it was business or whatever it was, and he came to the Rebbe and he said, I want a blessing for menuchas hanefesh, to have inner peace. And how do you buy that, right? Inner peace. It's not something, and the Rebbe told him he should study Rambam every single day. Until his dying day, he had a chavrusa, he had a learning partner, and I would drive him many evenings in the snow to meet his partner when he was in his high 80s, and he would go and he would study Rambam every single day. So the study of Rambam is the study of these 613 mitzvahs. Now, it is true that a mitzvah is a good deed, and it's used loosely in that context. Come, who wants to do a mitzvah and help me bring in the bags? And a mitzvah is a good deed. But we know that, Terry, you said the word connection. The word mitzvah also comes from the Aramaic word of tzavtza. Tzavtza means to connect. Every mitzvah that we do is an opportunity to connect to Hashem. That's why every mitzvah stands on its own and has its own merit. So, for example, if a person, I don't know, ate not kosher, and then they use that energy to go learn Torah, does that negate the Torah study? Every mitzvah is its own mitzvah. I'm not encouraging it. But I'm saying is that there's that benefit, because there was a movement when Chabad went out on the streets to put tefillin on men. And people said, how could you put on tefillin if this person just did something that, you have no idea where a person's coming from. Every mitzvah the Rebbe spoke about, and Kabbalah talks about how every mitzvah stands on its own. Every mitzvah has merit. Every mitzvah is an opportunity for connection. Think about like a tight rope. Every strand, the more strands you are, the more connected. Every strand is an opportunity for connection. So we understand also that mitzvahs in general, which comes from our Torah, is Hashem's way of telling us how to live. It's our guideline on how do we live. Every part of our life is addressed through a mitzvah, something that we should do or something that we shouldn't do. From the moment we wake up till the moment we go to sleep, even once we're sleeping, every part of our home, our bedroom, our kitchen, our dining, every part of every facet of our lives, thank you, Freddie, has an opportunity to do a mitzvah. And what that really means, it's not just how we live our life, but it's how we transform our surroundings. We know that until Mashiach comes, we don't see godliness and the basic mundane things. But when we do a mitzvah, we transform, or we uncover the godliness and the goodness in everything that we see. Excuse me. So, for example, this computer right now, I'm sure there's a lot of not good things I could do on that computer. But by using it right now to teach Torah, I'm elevating this computer to godliness. And every interaction, every mitzvah provides that opportunity for us. And it touches a different part of our life. And it teaches us how to live a life that is meant for us. So it's not just like, let's go do a mitzvah today. It's actually the best way to live. Because Hashem, in his wisdom, who created us, in his wisdom, gave us the Torah in his wisdom. And who better to know how to teach us how to live our lives than Hashem, the one who created us. So every mitzvah is an opportunity to not only connect to our neshama, to connect to our soul, but also to connect to our surroundings and to elevate all that is around us. So in the scope of this class, we're not going to go through all 613. By the way, side point, one of the things that was also put out by the Rambam is the shortened version of the mitzvos, it's called Sefer HaMitzvos. Raise your hand if you've heard of that. It's called the Book of Mitzvos. And it's actually one book, and it's been divided into 300, the whole year. And every day you read a couple of mitzvos, and by the time the year is over, you learned about all 613 mitzvos. So it's like the shortened version of learning Rambam. Instead of doing 3 chapters a day, you learn a couple of mitzvahs a day, and it's a really beautiful thing. In every Jewish school, around most Jewish schools, they will learn Sefer HaMitzvahs every day. They start with the class, the teacher writes the Jewish date on the board, they daven, and you learn the Sefer HaMitzvahs. It's very quick. Maybe starting from next week, I'll show you a Sefer HaMitzvahs, and I'll open it up to the page of the day that we are, and I'll read it. It's very short. Yes.
One of the things that helped me, Chayleska, was the Chayenu.
Yes.
Because the Chayenu has it divided between the masters or the
Yeah.
right, and it helped me in my mind
Divide it up.
them to understand them. So
Yeah.
it's a great.
Does the Chayenu include Sefer HaMitzvahs?
I don't know about that.
I feel like it does. Yeah.
It probably doesn't because I really don't know, but in other things.
Yeah. Yeah. I should send out a link to subscribe for that, because that's which what Abby's talking about is there's a subscription called Chayenu, which means in English our life, and it takes different parts of Chumash, which is the Torah. It takes Tanya, which is Kabbalah, and I believe it takes Sefer Mitzvot, and it divides it up according to the day. So if a person wants to study Torah every day, but it's too overwhelming, like where do I begin? This breaks it up for you that you have like a daily thing to study. It's actually amazing, and I will post a link. Abby, if you could shoot me a text after class to remind me. It's a wonderful subscription, and it helps with incorporating daily Torah study. So we are not going to be able to do all 613 mitzvahs, obviously, not today for sure. But we're going to start with some of the basic ones, because if you know these basic mitzvahs, the ones that we're going to incorporate, you know a lot. For example, there's a lot of things in the Torah that there's a negative and a positive. So it says, don't do this and do this, but it's talking about the same mitzvah. For example, it uses the word shamar v'zachar when it comes to the mitzvah of Shabbos. Did you know that? It says shamar v'zachar, it talks about in Lechadodi. Shamar, to observe, to watch the Shabbos, and zachar, to remember it. Those are 2 different commandments on the same mitzvah. So a lot of the mitzvahs have a few commandments related to that mitzvah specifically. Sometimes it says, like you should keep Shabbos, and you shouldn't desecrate the Shabbos. Same mitzvah, 2 commandments. So a lot of the mitzvahs have a positive and a negative to the mitzvah. A lot of the mitzvahs, yes, the same mitzvah itself, exactly. So when you keep Shabbos, you're keeping 2 mitzvahs actually. Keeping Shabbos, and you're abstaining from desecrating Shabbos. Then there are a lot of mitzvahs that are connected to the temple, which we don't have anymore, which we will have with the building of the Beis Hamikdash, the Holy Temple, when Mashiach comes, and that's a very large chunk of mitzvahs. Then there are mitzvahs that are all connected to the holidays. So every holiday has certain mitzvahs. Like, for example, what is the mitzvah of Rosh Hashanah? It's 1 mitzvah. The shofar. If you have to do one thing on Rosh Hashanah, it's to blow the shofar. What's the one thing you have to do on Yom Kippur? Fast. Just to fast. What's the one thing you have to do on Pesach? Eat matzah and not eat chametz. So you understand? So every holiday has its mitzvahs, and some of them are multiple mitzvahs for that holiday. The ones that we're going to address now are the main mitzvahs that if one is able to keep all of these mitzvahs, they're doing pretty well. So the very first mitzvah is the mitzvah of Shabbos. So before we go into Shabbos, I want to share something with you that you may or may not know. The Torah is divided into 613 mitzvahs, but the mitzvahs are divided into 3 categories. Does anyone know what those 3 categories are? So what is it?
It's the do's and the don'ts, and then there's one other one I don't know what it is.
Okay, so there's many different ways that you can divide up the mitzvahs, but the way I'm referring to specifically is there's mishpatim, there's edus, and there's chukim. Mishpatim comes from the Hebrew, that was last week's Torah portion. Remember, does it sound familiar? Mishpatim. A mishpat means judgment or a basic law. Mishpatim are the ones that you would think we didn't need the Torah to tell us, like don't kill, don't steal. They're the ones we understand. Those are the things that specifically we need Hashem to tell us, because we don't not steal because we're not in the mood or because it's the moral thing. We don't steal because Hashem told us not to steal. So this idea of the mishpatim are the things that we understand. Then there's a second category of mitzvahs called edim or edus. Edus means witness. There are certain things we do to witness something that happened. For example, all holidays are a witness to what happened, right? We eat matzah as a witness to Hashem taking us out of Egypt thousands of years ago. Shabbos is one of these mitzvahs. That's an edus because Hashem created the world in 6 days and rested on the seventh. To remember that, we keep Shabbos today. That same energy. So there are things that are the witness mitzvah. Then there's the mitzvah, a small category called chukim. Chukim are mitzvahs that we do not understand. We can come up with, there are many beautiful explanations, and there's tons of study and depth, and one should explore. But those are the mitzvahs. It's like the husband that picks up the socks from the floor because his wife gets annoyed from it, but he would totally leave it on the floor. But he does it just because he loves his wife. Same concept. We do mitzvahs because we're in a relationship with Hashem. And the reason ultimately that we do any mitzvah, even a mishpat, we do mitzvahs because we're in a relationship. We're in a relationship with Hashem, Hashem with us, and us with Him. And by the completion of these mitzvahs, whether it's a mishpat, whether it's an edus, or whether it's a chukim, each one of these hold a special place for whatever purpose it is. So for example, give me an example of a mitzvah that's a chayk.
Red heifer.
Kosher, very good. The red heifer. Mikvah, the whole concept of purity and impurity. What is that anyway? Shatnez, excellent. You know what shatnez is? The mitzvah that you cannot mix wool and linen together. You're wearing a garment that has wool and linen, it's forbidden to wear. Kosher, yes, Abby said that. So as we go through each of the mitzvahs, you'll see that each of them fall into one of these categories. So we are going to start with Shabbos. So Shabbos is, have you ever heard that Shabbos is known as the Shabbos queen, right? Shabbos is like a queen that descends on the home. And we actually treat Shabbos like a queen. We get dressed in beautiful clothing. We prepare our homes. We make special foods. What is the mitzvah of Shabbos? What does it say? It says, Hashem says, 6 days you shall work, and on the 7th day you shall rest. A lot of people take the 6 days very seriously. The 6 days you shall work, but they don't take the 7th day you shall rest too much to heart. But we know that when a person does both, then the 6 days contributes to the 7th day of rest, and the rest contributes to the 6 days of work. Because it's very easy for a person to live their life without remembering who they are and where they come from and what their mission in this world is. So when we work and we're busy and we're running and we're doing, and then we take those 25 hours and we stop and we abstain from all work, all creative work, which we'll talk about what work is entailed, you live your life differently. Your whole life is transformed from Shabbos, because Shabbos tells us that it's time to stop doing and it's a time to be. When you take time to be, you listen to your soul and you start to remember who you are, why you're here. And we're going to talk about all the rituals that are associated with Shabbos. They all contribute to this unbelievable experience where you just are. And you connect to yourself, to your soul, and to God. And for anyone that keeps Shabbos, will tell you that once you keep Shabbos, you can't live without Shabbos. Once you have Shabbos in your life, you can't imagine not having Shabbos. It says that more than the Shabbos, the Jews have kept Shabbos, Shabbos has kept the Jews. So Shabbos is really a present. It's literally the biggest gift that Hashem has given to the Jewish people. Not to take advantage of that is a crime. And it's not all do it all or do it none at all. We can do it in steps. And I always tell you, when it comes to doing a mitzvah, it's not one way. It's like you do it all the way or you don't do it at all. Any small step of Shabbos that you could grow in, make a goal for yourself. This month I'm going to do this. Next month I'm going to do this. It's the biggest gift you can give yourself. Yes. Abby, you wanted to say something?
I don't keep Shabbos. I tried several years ago, several times. But the thing that I liked about it when I did was I didn't have to make any decisions, basically. It's pretty much a break.
Yeah. And it gives you that opportunity to really, here we go, to really connect with yourself. So we're going to go ahead and let's get started. Why is this not? Each mitzvah connects us to Hashem. Okay, we're starting with Shabbos. So the seventh day of the week is a day of rest. When we rest, we show the world that Hashem is its creator and everything belongs to him. That's another unbelievable thing about Shabbos, is you recognize that you're not in control. I think COVID definitely taught us that we're not in control. But Shabbos gives us that weekly reminder, whatever happens, happens. Hashem is in charge. Yes.
I was a salesperson for years, and I had to work Saturday, because that's the challenge. And one day I said, no, I don't. And I started, and that doesn't mean that you have to do this or not. But what I found from keeping Shabbos is when someone tells me, and even now I'm looking for a part-time job, and I have turned down quite a few because they said, oh no, if you're going to work here, you have to work Shabbos. And I said, no, I don't. And I kind of laughed. I say, no. It's not, when they say, it's not just that Shabbos keeps us, it's every week you say to God, I'm here, I'm listening. Even on Sunday, when maybe you slip and fall and do all the things, Friday night comes around and you are making a statement to God, because I'm learning a little bit.
Yeah. So no, and thank you for sharing that. That's and everyone's experience will give them something else. So let's talk about this. When we rest, we show the world that Hashem is its creator and everything in it belongs to him. So what is the rest that we're talking about is from when sundown. When does it start? So the first thing is sundown Friday night. The minute the sun sets, Shabbos begins until nightfall. So that's why it's 24 hours. So if Shabbos came in at 6:05, then Shabbos usually ends like 7ish. So when do you know that it's nightfall? If you can't go on the phone. 3 stars in the sky. 3 stars in the sky show that it's nightfall. We're so lucky that we have Jewish calendars today. Just look at the calendar to know when that is. Working, what is working? Working includes using electricity, cooking, driving, and other weekday activities. This is really, Shabbos is its own subject. And I know I feel like I say this every week, but it really is. To learn about Shabbos, I actually taught Shabbos to my 5th grade students when I taught in a Jewish day school in New York. It took me like 6 months just to teach them the laws of Shabbos. It wasn't every day, it was like a couple times a week. I'm just saying, to learn the laws of it's extensive. What determines work? So anything that is creating. So how do we know what's creating? We open up the Torah. The commandment to keep Shabbos is written right near the commandment of the Jewish people to build the tabernacle. So what do we know to be work? Anything that was used to build the tabernacle. How many different types of work was used to build the tabernacle? Anyone know the number?
36.
Close.
39.
It's called very good. It's called the Lamed Tes Melachos. Have you heard of the Lamed Tes Melachos? The 39 laws, the 39 things that are called the Lamed Tes. Lamed is 30. Tes is 9. Lamed Tes is 39. Milacha. Milacha means work. The 39 things that they did to build the tabernacle, that is considered, anything that falls under that category is considered work. I'll go a little deeper for you. For example, one of the 39 melachos are dyeing, D-Y-I-N-G, to dye materials. That's called the of melacha. Of is father. That's the main melacha. What is a tulda? Tulda means a child. What's a child melacha? Weaving is its own melacha. Is painting, coloring. So that is where the oral Torah and understanding, because so many new things, new technologies, the world is evolving. How do we know what those main 39 melachas are? New things, we have to learn and see, and this is its own topic in itself, of where do they fit into the 39 laws. So that is why anything that you're not allowed to do on Shabbos falls under these 39 categories. So the study of the 39 categories is very intense. That's what I was teaching my 5th grade students. We went through, most Jewish day schools will teach children the 39 melachos, and they will teach them the of melacha and then the tuldas, all the ones that go under it. Most kids will make like a scrapbook or like a, like on a binder, and you have to memorize them. Like a Jewish child knows by heart the 39 melachos. It's in your sleep. So it's easy to know what you are and you're not allowed to do on Shabbos. But it stems from the 39 things that were done in building the Mishkan and building the tabernacle. Rima.
How is it driving was determined to be part of it?
Okay, so
Especially when, in those times, you need around or a synagogue.
right.
Not
So this is an excellent question, and I'll address it shortly. But I want to tell you that there's probably going to be a lot of questions of how is this under this category, and how is this, and it's fascinating actually to see how the laws came to be about. Just so you know, anything connected to electricity, which in a car of the ignition, that is the first thing that stems from driving. Is electricity is creating fire. So that's in short, that's the answer. That's where it stems from. But cooking also, it says very clearly in the Torah, aside from the 39 melachos, it talks about lighting a fire, that you're not allowed to light a fire on Shabbos. By the way, on holidays, so you're not allowed to cook. Cooking is, bishul is one of the 39 melachos. You are allowed to cook on Yom Tov. You are allowed to cook on a holiday, but you're not allowed to start a fire. So what's the solution? You leave a fire on the holiday and you're allowed to use that fire to cook on Yom Tov. But you're not allowed to start a fire, but you're allowed to cook from a pre-existing flame. That's why, yeah. What is it?
a few years ago before there was electricity, someone would tend that fire.
That
They have somebody tend that fire. The
We-
fire would go out.
it wasn't simple. There are 39 types of work activities that the Torah tells us that we do not do on Shabbos. On keeping Shabbos. Let us see what this is. Hold on.
Ever heard of leopardology? Katie Bernhardt, originally from South Africa, wrote a book a few years ago about what we can learn from leopards and how to hunt for profit in a tough global economy. The book was an instant bestseller, making Kiwi one of the most sought-after international speakers. One day, Kiwi gets a phone call from the Speakers Bureau inviting him to deliver the opening address at a very important Microsoft conference. Hundreds of vendors from around the world were going to be there, including Bill Gates himself. Even for
I don't know why this keeps happening. Anyways, have you been seeing the screen the whole time? Has it been flipping pictures? Oh, and I'm like literally like chatting. Oh, this is on the whole time? Oh no. Trying to call my tech guy. That's a pity. Okay, let me just text Freddie. Okay. Yes.
Are the mitzvahs connected to the pieces of the Mishkan? Is there, like, there's all these different pieces to the Mishkan, and
There's a lot. There is a lot connected because the Mishkan is like the grounding. Yeah, yeah. There is. There's so much. It's not connected. I know. I haven't took my charger. Is that why? No. No, it's working for me. Also, is there a way to connect? Like, this is so annoying. Okay. So, what do we do to prepare for Shabbos? The first thing we do in every Jewish home is you clean the house. You clean your house. Such a great thing. You clean your house because a Shabbos queen is coming. So you clean your house to get ready for Shabbos. And whatever that means for you. It's mopping your floor, cleaning your kitchen. It's traditional to put on a white or a beautiful tablecloth, something separate for Shabbos. And it's not working. Sorry. Oh. Okay, got it. Because we are not allowed to cook on Shabbos, most Jewish homes, the cooking for Shabbos takes place Friday. And since it is challenging because we have a big Friday night meal, I know for myself, I make my menu on Wednesday, shop on Thursday, and I cook on Friday. Different people, I start actually the cooking Thursday night. But we prepare all the foods for Shabbos for those 24 hours in advance. And then it's a custom to actually bathe on Friday afternoon before Shabbos, and we dress in something called Shabbos clothing. And that is your most beautiful clothing. In fact, if you come to shul on Shabbos, it's a beautiful thing to dress up because it shows respect. It shows that it's a celebration to dress beautifully for Shabbos. Everybody should have one or two things in their closet that are special for Shabbos. It's go shopping, 100%. We dress in. Could you imagine you came to class today and the teacher told you to go shopping? It's just a great class. But everybody should have one or two beautiful things in their closet for Shabbos. And the whole house transforms because the house is clean, the food is cooked, the family is dressed beautifully for Shabbos. Everything's been taken care of. It's like you're preparing for this event. And it's amazing how no matter what time Shabbos starts, whether it starts in the winter time between 4 and 5, or it starts in the summertime between 7, after 7, till the last minute, there's always something to do. Except you're like one of those special people like my grandmother who was from Jerusalem, my father's mother, and she was always ready 2 hours before Shabbos, sitting and saying Tehillim. I mean, she's related to me, but and I'm sure, I don't know if this happened when she had young children at home. She had 10 children. But I know that I remember always in her home when I would visit her in Israel, 2 hours before, she was ready, the house was set, she was sitting and saying Tehillim. It's a very special time, the hours before Shabbos. It actually says that the Yetzer Hara, the Satan, wants to destroy this magical energy that takes place in a Jewish home before Shabbos. So it'll cause fights between a husband and a wife on Erev Shabbos. In fact, when I learned as a bride before getting married, there's special classes that you take because there's new mitzvahs connected to marriage. And I remember it's called a Kala teacher, a teacher for brides. She told me, you should know, on Friday afternoons, the Satan comes and causes fights between a husband and a wife. Don't listen to the Satan on Friday afternoon. And the Satan it's like the evil, it's like the Yetzer Hara. I don't like to use the word Satan because that comes from a not Jewish source. But the Satan is the one who tries to convince us to do everything opposite Hashem. It convinces you to go against Hashem. So the Satan comes and says, now's a good time to have a fight. So don't listen to the Satan because there's tension Erev Shabbos. There's so much that has to be done. And also, there's not, all Jewish schools give off till 12 o'clock. School ends at 12 o'clock. So the kids are all around and it's a hectic time Erev Shabbos. So that is how we go ahead and prepare for Shabbos. Then Shabbos begins with the lighting of the candles. The lighting of the candles is a mitzvah that was given specifically to women. The mitzvah of lighting Shabbos candles actually is, the obligation is on an adult, once a woman, and different communities have different customs. There's some communities that they only start to light Shabbos candles once they're married. Some start when they turn bat mitzvah. The Rebbe in Chabad encouraged women to start lighting Shabbos candles at the age of 3. The time that a girl is of understanding, she should right away start. The more light to bring in, the better. So the custom is to light Shabbat candles. Girls have the mitzvah of lighting Shabbat candles. Married women light 2, one for them and for their spouse. Single girls light 1. There is a custom, at least where I was growing up, to light 1 for each of your children if you have any, which is a beautiful thing. There's nothing more special for children to know that every Friday night their mother lights candles for them and their mother is davening for them. There's no greater gift in the world you can give your children. So the mitzvah is, now this is one of the few mitzvahs that you light before, you do the mitzvah before the bracha. Most times, if I'm going to drink something, I say a bracha, a blessing, and then I drink. Or if I'm going to light the menorah, I say the blessing, and then I light. Any mitzvah that you do, you first say the blessing, and then you do the mitzvah. And Shabbos is the opposite, because once you say the bracha, it's Shabbos, and you can't touch a candle. So you light the, you say the, you do the act first, you light the candle, and then once you say the blessing, you go ahead and you bring in Shabbos. And this is an opportunity. Hold on, I'm actually, if it's okay, I'm going to stop from any questions right now because I want to cover some ground, and then I'll take questions at the end. So write them down. So this is an opportune time for a woman to pray. She closes her eyes. She can keep her eyes covered and ask Hashem for whatever it is that she wants. It's called in Hebrew an Is Ratzon, which is an auspicious time. There are 3 times for a Jewish woman that it's a very auspicious time for prayer. 1, when she lights Shabbat candles. 2, when she does the mitzvah of challah, which is taking a piece of her dough and says a blessing and she burns it, which is its own mitzvah, which we will address at a later point. And 3rd is the mitzvah of mikvah. When a woman immerses herself in the mikvah, it's a very opportune time for her to pray. So this is how Shabbos is ushered into the house. There's a custom that a lot of men in their home, how do they prepare for Shabbos to show their contribution? Not to show their contribution. There are many men who help with the cooking and the cleaning. My father he was flying in from work when I was a child, rushing right before he had a business in New Jersey, and he was flying in 10 minutes before Shabbos, or not 10 minutes, but like 20 minutes before, and he'd light all the candles and then blow them out. So the wick was easier for my mother to light. So it's his contribution to being part of the candle lighting, which is always a wonderful, special memory. Now, I can come 10 minutes before. Came home earlier, but definitely felt like, that, well, yeah, there's tons of traffic. But, typically, a man going out to work and coming home, and it's getting home early and in time, it's always been a challenge, but so special. We light the candles 18 minutes before the sun sets. If a person is running late, like if Shabbos candle lighting is 5:42, sundown is 6 o'clock. Candle lighting is 5:42. So you do have, in case of emergency, you do have the 18 minutes up until sunset to light if you're running late. So if, let's say, it's candle lighting is 5:42, but you're like, oh my gosh, 5:42 passed, you still have up until the 18 minutes. In fact, not 18 minutes, but the 16 minutes. The first 16 of the 18 minutes, you're able to still light the Shabbos candles. And we over here, why lighting candles brings peace and light into the world. Something about candles, right? Brings such an amazing energy. We spoke about how to light. There's a custom to give tzedakah before you light the candles. You give tzedakah. We wave our hand 3 times. You cover your eyes. You say the blessing, and then you can keep your eyes closed and ask for anything that you need. This is a nice video, but so it's actually interesting how every generation from the times of our It's powerful to see a video like that because it makes you it not only is a special mitzvah, but it connects you to generations of women who came before us, and through every difficult time people have kept, you hear stories of people who have kept their faith and lit Shabbos candles even under the most dire circumstances. The Moranos in Spain, or women who were going to the concentration camps, or Russia under communism. People held on to those candlesticks and kept this tradition alive. The mitzvah and the power of candle lighting is something that has spanned the years, and it's all, but more than that, it's something that is a statement to the power of the Jewish family. And lighting Shabbos candles is something that is a gift you can give your families, and it's never too late to start. I do want to say that if a person is not married and they live alone, a man, they have to light Shabbos candles in their home. So if a man lives alone, they should light Shabbos candles because there has to be Shabbos candles in the home. So I just wanted to mention that. So the mitzvah is on the woman, but if there's no woman in the house, they do that. Wait 1 second. So much more to do. Let me just see how much more we have left. Give me a second. Okay, if you give me 3 more minutes, I'm going to finish Shabbos. So give me a second. So for Kiddush, you know what Kiddush is? What's Kiddush? Kiddush is when so after the candles are lit, that brings in Shabbos. Typically, there are services on Friday night where there's a special prayers that are said Friday night. And then we come home from shul and we have a special meal. The meal is the Friday night meal begins with Kiddush. Kiddush is how many times during Shabbos do we make Kiddush? Twice. Once on Friday night and once on Shabbat after services. We make it on grape juice or on wine. And we say the blessing that includes the Borei Pri Hagafen, which is the blessing on wine. Now, I just want to say that the idea of Kiddush, specifically, what does the word Kiddush mean? Kiddush means, or Kadosh, holy. In fact, it's a holiness that we sanctify the meal. And in Kiddush, if you actually look about what Kiddush talks about, Kiddush talks about 2 things: the creation of the world, and that Hashem took us out of Egypt. Because the first time that Hashem introduced the mitzvah of Shabbos was right after the Jewish people left Egypt, and it was one of the 10 commandments. So Kiddush talks about the fact that we remember where we come from, that Hashem created this world. He commanded us 6 days we shall work, on the 7th day He rested, and we rest on this day. And we also talk about the fact that we come out of Hashem took us out of Egypt, and we have so much gratefulness to have of the freedom that we have to live our world. Now, after Kiddush, we get up and we wash. How do we wash? 3 times on the right and 3 times on the left for the highlight of the meal, the challah. What challah? We don't talk. Excellent. If you go to someone's Shabbos meal and they're ignoring you, they're not ignoring you. You just can't talk between you wash and eat the challah because you don't take a break between the 2 mitzvahs because they're connected. Why do we have challah? Challah is represented from when Hashem took us out of Egypt and we were in the desert. Hashem gave us the manna. The manna sustained the Jewish people for 40 years. On Friday, everyone got a certain portion every day, but on Friday, Hashem gave people a double portion so they wouldn't have to carry on Shabbos and work to go pick up their food. So we have 2 challahs. There's a custom to have a challah board, challah, and then a challah cover, which represents when Hashem put the manna on the ground in the desert, He put a layer of dew, then He put the manna, and then He covered it with dew to protect it from the elements. So to remember that, we have the challah board, which was the first layer of the challah, and then the cover. So we say the hamotzi, we say the challah, on the challah, then we eat the Shabbat meal, which traditionally is a 3-course meal, but you don't have to. We have the tradition, and there's so much richness. I wish I had more time to go through why do we have gefilte fish, and why chicken soup, and why kugel, and the Ashkenazim, and the Sfardim. There's so much richness to why we have all these traditional beautiful foods. And then the next, of course, and then the next day, we wake up in the morning, we go to shul, we have a beautiful service where the wonderful time of connection to Hashem, and then we have a beautiful meal in the afternoon. Nothing, you can't have Shabbos without a Shabbos nap. But it's a time of connection, it's a time of reflection, it's a time of connecting to Hashem, connecting to your family, connecting to your soul. And then we end off the week with Havdalah. We spoke about Havdalah in the beginning of our course. Havdalah, who remembers? What does Havdalah mean? To separate. The word Havdalah, lahavdil, is to separate. And that ends the week. What we do is we use wine, like for Kiddush, and we have the spices. Remember why we use the spices? Who remembers? Why do we smell? What is this? It's like the smelling. I thought you guys were good students. Smelling salts, like a person who's about to faint. You give them smelling salts to reawaken them. Our soul, it says that on Shabbos we get an extra soul. So our soul feels so sad that now Shabbos is leaving. So we smell to give a little bit of a oomph to our week. We say a blessing on wine. We say a blessing on the spices. And what's the third thing we say a blessing on? At the Havdalah, on fire. Because the first time there was darkness was on Saturday night, when that was the first time the world experienced no light after the sin of eating from the Garden of Eden. And Hashem turned to Adam on Saturday night, and he taught him how to make fire. He said, take 2 flintstones and you will have fire. So fire was created on Saturday night. So we say a blessing on the Havdalah candle. And if, like Shabbos, let's say, comes out 7:05, but let's say you didn't make Havdalah yet, but you want to check your phone, or you want to turn on a light or something, you have to say, Baruch Hamavdil bin Kodesh L'chol. Baruch Hamavdil, blessed is the one who separates, bin Kodesh, between holy, and Chol. Chol is the mundane. And you can go ahead and do any work until the Havdalah is made. And that's Shabbos in a nutshell. So I feel like I didn't really give it so much justice, the Shabbos, because Shabbos, as I told you, is really a 6-month discussion. But there's so much out there. Go on to Chabad.org. Just type in the word Shabbos. You'll find hundreds of tutorials. Come over to me. I'll be happy to learn with you if you have any specific questions. But it's one of the most special mitzvahs that a person could incorporate into their life. Next week up is kosher. Anybody who has any specific questions, because Rabbi Yosef has to start his class, come over to me privately. I'll be standing at the entrance. I'll be happy to